John Tavares re-sign with the New York Islanders? Have they done enough to convince him to stay in Long Island long term? We're going to discuss that coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and analyze all 31 NHL teams, so if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So the big question here is John Tavares going to stay with the New York Islanders long term? Will he sign a new contract this summer and extend his time with the Islanders? It's a big question that's going to be answered soon enough, but right now, while we speculate, it's obviously going to take a look at what the Islanders have done to try to convince him to stay long term. Because you can say what you want about Tavares. A lot of these top players in the NHL, yes, they want to get paid appropriately, but they want to win. They're all in it to win it. Obviously, that's the ultimate goal for most professional athletes, is to win championships. So obviously, there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to, if they have the opportunity, throw a lot of money at Tavares to come play for their team. So obviously, he's going to have a lot of options to look at. He's earned his right as an unrestricted free agent to take a look at that and see what his options are. And obviously, the Islanders can offer him what they want for money, and I have no doubt that they'll do the right thing and offer him top dollar. But it's more than just about money. It's about putting a winning product on the ice and having a shot not only to win, but to at least contend for championships year over year. That's what a lot of these guys want. When they consider changing teams, especially at this stage in their career, it's all about winning. It is about getting paid, but there's a big piece there about winning. And can he do that with the New York Islanders? Obviously, let's take a look at a couple of the things that they've accomplished this year, which should help, but will it be enough? That's the big question I have, and I'm not totally convinced that he's going to stay with the Islanders. I'm a little bit surprised at what they didn't do at the trade deadline, and if you listen to some of the hockey insiders talk, the latest chatter around Tavares is they've all been saying really all year that they have no reason to believe he's going to leave New York and that he's more likely going to stay with the Islanders. They didn't envision him signing elsewhere, but now that chatter is starting to change. That a lot of these insiders are not so sure anymore, and a lot of them have narrowed it down to like maybe 50-50 at best that he does stay. So let's take a look at the reasons why he might and reasons why he might not stay with the Islanders long term. So let's look at a couple of positives going forward here. Obviously, they finally got their arena situation ironed out this year. They have a new arena in the works, which will be ready in a couple of seasons. So they do have stability that way, and at least that's a big question for Tavares. They're going to be able to have better attendance. They're going to be able to have a better home where they feel more comfortable and have a nice new state-of-the-art building in Long Island. So that was a big question looming over this franchise for a long time, and that's a question that they've been able to answer and get sorted out this year. So as much as Tavares didn't really, he kind of shook it off when he was asked earlier this year if that was going to be a big factor. I do think to a degree it was, and that's certainly a plus in the right direction for the New York Islanders. Now, we done a video back probably earlier this season, maybe a couple months ago, where we took a look and said, okay, the Islanders have not only have John Tavares coming up this year, but they have Josh Bailey, who's in a career year. Can they realistically afford to sign both of them? Now, if you missed that video, you want to go back, there'll be a YouTube card up here in the corner. You can go back and check that out. But we looked at it, we analyzed it and said, basically, that if things are done properly, they should be able to do this as long as Bailey agreed to a realistic contract, because sometimes you get players in career years getting a little bit too crazy with their demands, and sometimes that doesn't work out. But now the Bailey contract has been situated, he's been extended long term, and the money they offered him I thought was very fair. So yes, it pays him appropriately, but it still leaves them ample flexibility to look at getting Tavares redone as well. So those were two big questions, and they were both answered in the right way. So that's good on the Islanders. Now let's take a look at a couple things that, in my opinion, they haven't done a very good job at. It kind of really was a little bit of a mind head shaker here at the trade deadline. Obviously, this team can score goals. Their top six forwards are really good. I mean, you got John Tavares, Josh Bailey, Anders Lee, Jordan Eberle, and then you get the young guys with Matt Barzal and Beauvillier having excellent years. Like, their top six is really solid. They're scoring at very high rates, and all year long they've been one of the top scoring teams in the NHL. The problem is they can't keep the puck out of the net. Between their goaltending has been shaky, but it's more on the team defense and their defenders as well. Now, yes, I'll recognize they've had a lot of injuries back there, But at the end of the day, the big weak point on this team is on defense and a little bit, to a degree, in goal. And they don't necessarily, they do have some questions to answer in goal long term as well. So those are that part of the team was not addressed at the trade deadline. I can't believe that Garth Snow did not make more moves. Like, it was a bit of a head shaker. All he really did was he traded out Jason Chimera, who he sent off in return for a younger player, which was an okay deal for that. But really, like, they didn't do anything to upgrade their defense, and they didn't do anything to look at goaltending. Now, goaltending, I can understand why they might not do that right now, but they need to do something before the summer. I mean, they got to decide who they're comfortable with going forward. I mean, they've got Jaro Halak's an upcoming a free agent, and they got Thomas Greiss, who I think is under contract for another year or two, but they both really haven't been the most consistent. Halak has been better lately, and really you could argue that a lot of it is their team defense has been a big problem. Like, those guys are getting peppered with shots night after night after night, so you can't put it all on the goalies, but they do have a lot of holes on that back end of the team that Garth Snow failed to address. And that's more than likely going to cause them to miss the playoffs this year. They've been in the hunt really all year long, but they're getting to a point now in that Metro Division where you've got the Capitals, the Flyers, and the Penguins all ahead of them. You have the Devils, even the Hurricanes are right there, and the Florida Panthers are hanging tight for a wild card spot too. Like, there's quite of a logjam to get into playoffs, and at this point, it's looking more and more likely that some of these losses that have mounted up lately, the Islanders are going to have a really hard time getting into the playoffs. So if they can't show John Tavares in his contract year that they're a playoff team and they're doing everything they can to improve all aspects of it, is he going to want to stay there long term? Like, there's certainly now a shadow of doubt for me, which was not there earlier this year. So when we talked about the Tavares situation earlier in the season, I felt pretty confident in saying that yes, there is a chance he could go, but my gut tells me more than likely this team is going in a good direction, and they're going to do more things throughout the year to convince him to stay. And I don't feel they've really lived up to that. Yes, early in the season they got their arena situation figured out. They did recently sign Josh Bailey, which I'm sure, being somebody who plays with Tavares a lot is good, and I'm sure that makes him pleased. But at the same time, like, they could offer him all the money they want. If he has a chance to make the same or more money elsewhere, and he can have a much better shot at contending for championships, I think there's a possibility he could go. I mean, he's going to command top dollar. I can't, we discussed before another video a while back what he would command for a salary this coming offseason. And personally, I mean, I don't think it'll be up there with Connor McDavid, but it's going to be close. Like, I think he's going to demand anywhere from $11, $12 million. Because the other thing you have to factor in here is you look at some of the other top contracts in the NHL, but the cap is going up. So you got to look at it. It's not just what are other players getting paid. It's what percentage of cap is available to pay a top player of his magnitude. So he could very easily end up in a very similar contract like Connor McDavid, or really close. Like, I think it's going to be at least $11 million a year. More than likely could be 12, 12.5, or potentially more. He's going to be commanding big money. He's by far the biggest name in the free agent market this year. There's all kinds of teams that need a top center. Like, the demand is going to be through the roof. And if he makes it to July 1st, there's going to be plenty of teams throwing money at him with a better chance to win sooner than later than the New York Islanders. So let me know down in the comments down below, do you think the Islanders have done enough to help convince John Tavares to sign a long-term deal with this contract? Or are we going to see him walk in the offseason? Because obviously they did not entertain trading him at the deadline, and they may come to regret that if he ends up walking. So leave some comments down below. Let me know, does John Tavares stay, or does he leave because he wants a better chance to win elsewhere? If you're new to the channel as well, consider subscribing. We have daily uploads. We cover all 31 teams. If you haven't done so already, check us out on social media. You're going to see our Twitter handle on the screen. As well, we also are on Facebook and Instagram, and all those accounts are linked down below in the description. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. We will catch you next time.